now let's go over to Blitz. Let's go talk Blitz on Apple TV Plus. So Sharon, tell us about Blitz.
Yeah, Blitz is a film set in the Second World War and the beginning of the Second World War, and it centres on this young lad who lives with his mum and granddad. His mum played by Saoirse Ronan, his granddad played by Paul Weller, and they have at the very early stage of the war, like September 1939. Uh, they were worried about what was going to happen in London. So a lot of the children were evacuated to the country and they were put in foster families. And Saoirse Ronan decided that she didn't want to part with her little boy at that point, and she was prepared to sort of have him with her. And the part of London, they missed the worst of the Blitz in sort of like mid 1940, so the beginning of 1941 now. And then the bombing has started again and it's getting closer to their part of London, and she decides that now is the time. Yeah, she's actually going to give in and she's going to evacuate her little boy. He doesn't want to go, so he is evacuated as per the plan, and he gets put on the train and he has his label on, and he's been told, stay in this part of the train and you'll be taken to your new home, will be allocated to you when you get to where you're going. And he's like, I'm not going. So he waits until the train basically slows down to go through a tunnel, and then he jumps off the train. And then you have this Dickensian odyssey almost, where he basically tries to find his way home. And he encounters along the way these different group of characters who sort of take him on to this next part of the story. So you have a little group of little boys who you think of almost like like the Artful Dodger and his little mate.
Yeah.
And they have a little adventure with them. And then you have where he meets this really benevolent, I was thinking of like Ham from David Copperfield, who sort of really takes him on board and helps him on to the next bit. And then you meet like a sort of Bill Sykes, Fagin, Nancy group,
Yeah.
who show him like the darker sides of London during the war. And so you have at each stage, you have these different characters that progresses him on his journey, but he opens his eyes to what life is like in wartime London. And so you follow this little journey with this little lad as he tries to get home. And while he's doing this journey, you see how the war is affecting his mum and his granddad in the way that their lives are living, as working in the factories, as doing war work, but not in uniform, but just doing munitions work. And her granddad, like trying to keep the family entertained. So down the pub with an old sort of sing along by the old Joanna. Um,
always one of them
and
in the old
seeing
house.
you see this sort of this richness and this the complexity of what life was like in wartime London through the eyes of this lad and his family.
All right, cool. So yeah, thanks, Jared. This is directed by Steve McQueen, known for 12 Years a Slave. He did the Small Axe series on BBC, and I know that for me anyway, one of the things that stood out when I first saw the poster for this film is that the little boy who I think his name is George, his mom is Saoirse Ronan, but he obviously has a black father. And so
You
with
see
this
how
being
they
Steve
meet
McQueen
before
and
the
everything
war.
like that, yeah.
Yeah. His
And
dad was
it's
like a musician, and they sort of fell in love, and she got pregnant, but they were separated before they could get married.
yeah, but it looks like that's actually addressed in the film, like almost like that there were black people in London during
Yeah.
World War
I
Two.
think it is based on a very famous picture. You see this picture of the children being evacuated, and there is a picture of this little sort of dual heritage boy, because he has been led by the hand by one of the sort of WVS women, and he's got his label around his neck and his little bag, being led through the train station. And so you obviously sort of Steve McQueen saw this image and thought, there's black children were involved in this as well,
Yeah.
or dual heritage children who you don't know what their background is, but you think it wasn't just the little sort of
Well, yeah,
the
yeah.
normal image of what you expect to be from the children who were evacuated.
Because I think it's one of those areas that obviously there's a lot of World War II stories that are told and everything like that, but it's an area that doesn't really get covered that much. Then that's the thing that intrigued me. Although not enough for me to actually watch the film, even though I've had it on Apple TV just sitting there staring at me. But anyway, you are the one who actually has some diligence about this. So how many stars would you give Blitz?
No, I really liked it actually. I thought, yeah, to me it was just Dickensian. It just the characters, the way some of them were like really broad, and some of them were sort of comic, and others were tragic. I just really quite like this sort of broad, some of these like the broad strokes of it. But yeah, and I thought the lad who played sort of George was really well done. Some child actors just, couldn't cause diabetes, couldn't they? Really, they're just so sickly sweet that you think, oh, please go away. But no, he was. I thought he did it really well. So for me, it was four. It was 4 star.
You see, I'm happy with the sort of the sickly sweet diabetes causing child actors. I cannot stand the wooden ones. The wooden ones where they're like, oh, they look cute. Oh my god, they can't act for toffee. They kind of like
I don't believe a word you're saying, but yeah, you're invested in him and what he goes through. Yeah, you really do feel for him.